perspective, but what is also something that you need from the team. I'll just share on behalf of myself. One of the things that I need from the team is for people to give me feedback so that I can be responsive to their needs. I have an awareness of what's going on with my role respectively. And I think that was something that people kind of took to heart, not just from any one of us as individuals, but collectively as a team. You know, what can we bring to the table to move it forward, but what's something we need to make sure that those needs are being met. We then translated all that information into developing our own norms. And so I won't read these to you, but I think our work is hard, our work is meaningful, our work is important. So you can see 1 through 5 really talk about how we're gonna interact with one another as a team, but we also really need to make sure we add to number 6 far too often. And you know, even this meeting is an example of that in some respects. We are more and more being asked to focus on things that have less to do with teaching and learning directly in support of all that we do. And that's because schools have a significant responsibility as part of our community to make sure we're thinking about all the things. But sometimes we get mired in stuff that doesn't always seem joyful. So we got to make sure we make a commitment to make sure that we are finding the joy in the things that we do, because that's what got us into this profession in the first place. So after that first day, I think we really felt very strongly and positively about how we're going to interact with one another moving forward, which then we got right into the work. So our building teams often they have to create a school improvement plan. So they have SIP teams, and school improvement planning team. We have these plans to be able to work together to make sure that our 4 district goals and focus areas, they frame our work, but that any strategic priorities associated with those 4 goal areas, each of our buildings are working toward collectively. So there's an opportunity for alignment, but there's also an opportunity for some differentiation. As a district, we have our own focus areas, as I mentioned. Sometimes those can get a little divergent, but one of the things that we walked away with one of the days we worked together this summer was to actually have a shared goal across all of our SIP plans focused on instruction. So getting back to how do we ensure that we are focused on teaching and learning as much as we possibly can, knowing that we have any number of things that we might be faced with on a day-to-day basis, but we have a shared goal focused on that across all of our SIP teams, which is really exciting for this year. But to get to that point where we can understand why we need a shared goal on teaching and learning is because we continue to work on supporting our teacher teams as a professional learning community. And so we spent some time learning together about what our instructional focus areas are and how can we continue to use our multi-tiered systems of support work, which has been an ongoing focus for the last 3 years. How can we ground those and merge those things together to ensure that we continue to move forward with our progress? So that meant talking about how we support our teacher teams, what are our collective focus areas when we are working as a professional learning community, and then what are some of the big ideas that will ground and anchor our work. That was our 2 days in July. So we took all that learning, buildings go back to work with their individual teams. We come back together in August after our 2 July dates. We have an opportunity to do some professional goal setting for ourselves, which is always a nice opportunity for us as a team to see how can we take on an individual level with our respective roles and anchor back into those building SIP plans to make sure that we're engaging in some professional learning for ourselves. But then each of the buildings also took an opportunity to share out the final product of their work. And so here's an example of that. I referenced that shared goal at the top. So all of our building teams have that shared goal. And then you can see across our 4 district goal areas of enhancing systems to support teaching and learning, continuous improvement of district operations, cultivating an equitable, inclusive school environment, and expanding opportunities. You can see this is just a snapshot of our primary elementary school SIP plan. Another piece to note is that this is 1 page. For far too long, our SIP plans, we've been chipping away at these for years and years and years. So really get them down from a 25-page larger document to perhaps a single page. The clarity that's associated with these plans should not only help individual teachers see how this plan connects to them as a staff member, but should also help narrow the focus for ourselves so it doesn't feel like we're doing too many things not well. We're doing a few things really deeply and purposefully to try to help make some progress towards each one of the goals and focus areas as they're outlined. So that's all I have for you in relationship to the professional learning and work this summer. I'll take any questions if you have.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on with some, the next parts of our agenda. We have a tax cert settlement Amy, Julianne, questions or comments? Roll call whenever you're ready, Deb, please.
Mrs. Calabrese?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Palomini?
Yes.
Dr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Grimm?
Yes. Next one is tax cert for GRHS. I'll ask for motions, please. Amy and Julianne, questions or comments? Whenever you're ready, please, Deb.
Mrs. Calabrese?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Palomini?
Yes.
Dr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Grimm?
Yes. And the last one is to amend the secret for the 2024 capital outlay project. Motions, please. Amy and Julianne. Questions or comments? Whenever you're ready, please, Deb.
Mrs. Calabrese?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Palomini?
Yes.
Dr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Grimm?
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Deb. Consensus and supplemental motions, please. Jen, mixing it up. Amy, questions or comments? All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't do all those
Sorry.
corrections.
We have several changes that are on the agenda, my apologies.
No worries.
No.
My apologies.
I'll read those out right now if that's okay. So we can amend the minutes, is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
All right. So under number 5, the consent agenda, Darren Chin, we're gonna remove, him having his UPK daughter attend school here. She will not be attending this coming school year. Under personnel, Leah Welch is listed as a resignation for the June 30th, but it's actually today's date, August 26th of 24. Need my glasses. Also under appointments, Jennifer Walton for food service helper. The listed rate is $15.76, but she's performing as a sub, and that rate is actually $15. Also in that same section, Thomas McKinney is a bus monitor. He has declined the position, so he'll be removed. And then lastly, under contract subs of the primary school, Madison Yandow, was approved, but she just received a probationary position elsewhere. And for us, it was a contract sub, so she's not going to be able to accept the position. I am so sorry I missed those, but those are the adjustments.
So we can just amend those.
We'll just say all in favor, we're done.
All in favor of amending?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have the 2 policies that had tiny little, changes made to them. I'll ask for, well, actually, I'll move them on behalf of the committee, so I don't need a second. Questions or comments? All in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Site, John?
You already
have it.
More than enough.
Went over there. Right. Julianne?
Okay, so, the DEI advisory group had our summer planning meeting in July. It was a very busy and productive day, a lot of reflection and concrete planning. We sort of took stock of where we were heading into the next year. We looked at what had been done this past school year, 23-24, sort of what had been done in each building, evidence of accomplishment. We looked at strengths that we had going into the next year, opportunities to grow, and where we felt we needed to focus. We looked at the structure of how our work is being done in terms of the building teams that are connected to the SIP process, as well as our district level conversation, and creating some structures for sustainability in terms of how each of those teams work in each of the buildings, just to allow for more efficiency and more consistency as the work is being done in the district. We then looked at feedback that we've gotten from faculty about ways to create welcoming and affirming environments, and where can we make changes that will impact the student and parent and family experience in our buildings, and sort of what order in which we want to approach that work, that people can walk away really feeling like they've accomplished the goal, because the faculty put a lot of time into thinking about those suggestions. We want to make sure that we're acting on them. And then we spent the rest of the time working on our management plan for the coming year. And I have to say, a lot of the new administrators who are part of that team did a great job of really pushing us as a group to be really concrete and specific, and to focus in and not try to do 20 things, sort of, and try to do a smaller number really specifically, really well, to focus our work for the coming year.
Thank you. Anything else?
Sorry, I was just, 2 things. One is, John asked for the presentation that Lavella used. You all have that in your email now, thanks to Brian. So thanks for doing that. And then, the other is the building visits Wednesday. What time are we starting, Debbie? 9 AM at the CACC, for anybody that's interested to join us. Mike escaped already, I was going to give him a kudos. They've remodeled half of the CACC this summer with their own crew. It looks unbelievable. It looks like a brand new building, half of it.
Are you starting at the Jean office and then?
We'll meet right at the CACC, I
Oh,
know
sorry,
because
there
Jeannie's
first.
time's limited, so, we wanna make sure we're right there at the CACC at 9 o'clock. We'll spend some time there and then we'll go to the other buildings at that point. So the purpose is really to look at what we've accomplished in this previous capital project, but then start looking specifically at what you saw presented tonight around what needs to be updated in the next one and trying to document some of those things, because when we go to the community, we want them to be, knowledgeable of what we've accomplished and where we're hopefully going if they wanna support us. And then just school starts. We believe that. It's been a really busy summer, as Matt highlighted. This is the busiest I can remember as well. Our team's changed a bit, hired some great new staff. And then, next week we will be doing the welcome back with the full staff in the auditorium. I know we've done it at CA Stadium the last few years, but we're switching to the auditorium this year because, to be quite honest, Dan's team is very shorthanded. And to set that up out there now that Matt Rogers is retired, and just everything that takes is a large undertaking. So we may go back to the stadium eventually, but this year we're back in the auditorium. So if you're joining, I know several of you are joining us for that. It'll be a fun welcome back for everybody. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. So we'll adjourn and I'll ask everyone to leave the building in